Coming up in today's video, we're going to be talking about a WWE tag team splitting up. Also, we're going to be talking about AEW Revolution and matches canceled and removed from the card. And then also, we're going to talk about Tony Khan's major announcements. And it's all coming up right here on this episode of The Angle Show. Alrighty, so we're going to kick things off with Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. Obviously, WWE Smackdown, very solid episode last night, but if you were watching, you may have noticed that WWE is beginning to tease the split between Drew McIntyre and Sheamus. This is because WWE is looking at building a mid-card title match for WrestleMania, and it looks like the Intercontinental Championship is the belt that we're referencing. So the segment basically had Sheamus, Drew McIntyre, Karrion Kross. Who else was it? We had the New Day. We had all of these individuals get into the ring because they want the Intercontinental Championship. They want to go to WrestleMania. They want to secure their spot. LA Knight was also involved. They had like a little pull-apart brawl. Not a pull-apart brawl, but they had a little brawl. And essentially what happened in this case was Sheamus and Drew kind of teased their split. Sheamus wants the Intercontinental Championship. It's the one belt he hasn't won. Drew McIntyre wants the Intercontinental Championship because he wants to be involved at WrestleMania. LA Knight, Karrion Kross, everybody here wants the championship belt. So the good news is WWE set up a match next week. It's a fatal five-way match, and this is going to determine who's going to WrestleMania. There is this rumor, there is this belief that WWE's WrestleMania Intercontinental Championship match could potentially be a multi-man ladder match with all of these individuals involved. So we'll kind of see how WWE continues to develop the story there. But Gunther is a very, very, very formidable opponent. He's a very, very big opponent for WWE. I mean, I think this guy has a very big future. So obviously him getting that match with Sheamus would be nice considering what they did at Clash at the Castle. I think that type of match happening at WrestleMania, if you were to give it to Sheamus, it would not be a bad look whatsoever. Their wrestling has been incredible. There's also rumors that Gunther could be a contender for the WWE World Championship at some point in 2023 to 2024. Triple H and the WWE are incredibly high on Gunther as one of the top heels in the company, which makes a lot of sense considering the fact that he's been an incredible Intercontinental Champion, and him and Imperium have really done wonders for that championship belt. All right, guys, I want to turn our attention to AEW Revolution. Obviously, a lot of people are talking about Danielson and MJF, and the reason why they're talking about this is because Tony Khan made the decision to put them in a Iron Man match for 60 minutes, which obviously is going to take up an hour plus from AEW's Revolution airtime. Now, obviously, with that being said, this is not a typical AEW pay-per-view in the sense that you are going to get, 15, 16 matches. It's not going to be 5-6 hours long. This is expected to be a lot shorter of a pay-per-view. Tony Khan was speaking about this a little bit on the media call, and basically one of the guys from Sportskeeda, Max Everett, asked why the face of the Revolution match was moved to Dynamite. Tony Khan said that it was because it's a reflection of the 60-minute Iron Man main event. He confirmed that it necessitated the proponent of the face of the Revolution ladder match being on the pre-show. Not on the pre-show, on Dynamite, obviously giving it a little bit more attention. We all know that if this match was on Revolution, it probably wouldn't have been a big deal as it was on Dynamite, because being on Dynamite, it kind of felt like that pay-per-view level match while still being on free TV, which I actually have no complaints about. I think a lot of people who are complaining about the Revolution card being smaller, I think you need to understand that WWE has done a really good job of pacing their pay-per-views since Triple H has taken over. The 5 to 6 matches is perfect. I think AEW has about 7 matches. One extra match isn't going to kill the pay-per-view. I think AEW kind of lowering the card, because there's other matches that were supposed to take place on the card that weren't. And that's because Tony Khan just has other plans to move them along, where it makes sense. So to Tony Khan's credit, I actually think that was the right choice. I think limiting, how many matches and everything, just kind of putting the most important of the most important there. That is what Tony Khan needs to do. At the end of the day, it's all about having a good pace. It's about having a show where you're not getting fatigued. And a lot of times with AEW pay-per-views, that was the biggest thing, was people were getting fatigued. So I think this is a great decision. The 60-minute Iron Man match is a very ballsy booking, but I think Bryan Danielson and MJF are going to be able to do some really good stuff in there. So I am excited to see that one particular match. Obviously, AEW Revolution is this upcoming Sunday, and the pay-per-view is going to be available for everybody to watch, but this time it's going to be shorter and with less matches. How do you feel about that? I think it's a good thing. I think it's a big complaint that I've had about AEW in the past, and, well, there's also rumors that AEW could be launching more pay-per-views, and that kind of brings us to our last topic of today's video. Guys, we're talking about Tony Khan's major announcements. There's 3 of them that we're kind of expecting soon, so we're going to talk about that. The first one is AEW All Elite Women. So we know about this. We've covered this on the channel. AEW launching a all-women's television show. That is something that's been planned for a while. It was trademarked a while ago. We talked about this on the channel. Now, basically, Tony Khan did also confirm that he is trying to get the show picked up. It's a wonderful idea that Tony Khan has for AEW. I do think having an all-women's show is a good idea, but Tony Khan couldn't get a TV deal for Ring of Honor. Tony Khan is kind of struggling with Rampage a little bit. I don't know if Tony Khan is trying to do too much too soon, but I do support the idea of AEW doing an all-women's show. I don't know if right now is the best time to do it, but I do think it could work out, especially because they have been signing tons of more women to the company and some bigger names as well. The second announcement that could be made is the AEW video game release date. It is expected to be towards the end of May. That's kind of the date that's floating around on the internet. So Tony Khan is going to be making multiple major announcements, but obviously the AEW video game is a big one for the company. It's a huge investment for the company. The talk all around social media is that Tony Khan and AEW have actually lost money on the video game, so that's why it's important for them to get it out and try to recoup some of that money by sales and DLC and all that. I'm not too worried about the financial success of the game. I think everybody kind of knew once the reports came out that they were over budget, that the game itself would probably, cost them a lot of money, and it might be a loss. But I'm just excited to play an AEW video game, that's for sure. I think it looks fun. And then the third announcement is more pay-per-views. And there's been this rumor and this speculation that Tony Khan doing more pay-per-views on a monthly basis or, once every 2 months or something like that could very well be possible. And it makes sense for Tony Khan, right? When you look at HBO Max and you look at Discovery and what they're doing with, they're adding live sports to their app. They obviously have Bleacher Report. The idea that Tony Khan could get into a very similar deal as WWE on Peacock could make a lot of sense. That's where I think the real value is with AEW is the tape library, having Ring of Honor, and then being able to stream pay-per-views. Even if it's at like $15 a month, that is a very big possibility. I don't think Tony Khan will be able to sell pay-per-views $50 every month, but if he's got some sort of streaming deal, that could be big. There's also been rumors for a while that Tony Khan in general would be doing more pay-per-views, so that way the builds, because the way that Tony Khan kind of built to Revolution is it was such a wide gap of time, but then most of the stuff happened within the last 2 weeks. So if you have more pay-per-views, that's less of an issue. So those 3 announcements, All Elite Women, AEW video game, and more pay-per-views are all kind of expected to be what is announced. Now, what is actually announced is hard to say because Tony Khan's got like a million things he wants to do. So more major announcements. Don't get baited into watching AEW Dynamite for something that could be an issue. You never know. It just sounds like sometimes it's a major announcement and then it's not really that big. But we'll see what happens. Let me know what you guys think down below.